On a bright afternoon, when the sunlight washed the small-town diner's windows in a calm golden haze, a moment occurred that shattered the peace so sharply that even the clinking of spoons seemed to freeze in midair. It began with an arrogant, loud, careless sound that ripped through the quiet like a blade. At the center of the room stood a wealthy teenage boy with slicked blonde hair and designer clothes, his shoulders raised in pride, as if the world existed only to applaud him. In front of him, trembling slightly while gripping his wooden cane, stood an elderly World War II veteran named Orville Hayes, a man whose deep-lined face spoke of battles far tougher than any the boy could imagine. And then, with the most shocking audacity, the teen spat right at Orville's worn boots. The room gasped, and for a heartbeat, everything went silent. No one knew that within seconds, 10 leather-clad bikers would walk in and shift the entire fate of the moment. If you're someone who believes in kindness, respect, and second chances, then make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Light of Kindness. Your support lifts these stories and helps kindness travel further than hate ever could. The diner, called Maple Junction Cafe, was a cozy spot with checkered curtains and old framed photos of the town from the 1940s. The afternoon rush had thinned when Orville arrived with his usual humble presence. Every day he came for a slice of warm pie, and to feel even for a moment like the world still had room for him at 96. His world had grown small, just a few streets, a handful of neighbors who still remembered his stories, and the cane that steadied him as he walked. Yet no matter how small life became, Orville carried a quiet dignity that many younger souls lacked. The teen's name was Bryson Kerr, son of a real estate mogul known for throwing money around like confetti. Bryson grew up believing wealth meant superiority, that people without shiny watches or fancy cars were beneath him. His friends had gathered around him, 3 boys in equally expensive clothes cheering him on, as if cruelty was some kind of sport. Orville had accidentally bumped Bryson's table while trying to steady himself, and the boy erupted instantly, cursing loudly and calling him names that made the waitress Shayla Moore wince from behind the counter. Orville apologized with a gentleness that should have softened any human heart, but Bryson wasn't interested in apologies. His ego had been touched, and that was enough to turn his anger into a spectacle. Bryson stepped forward, sneered, and spat a glob, landing on the dusty toe of Orville's old leather boot. The diners inhaled sharply. Shayla froze mid-step, her eyes wide with disbelief. An elderly couple in the booth by the window stared as if witnessing something unthinkable in a time that was already too harsh. The diner's atmosphere softened again. But something had shifted permanently. Bryson stood frozen for a while, then quietly retreated to a corner with his friends, who no longer dared cheer him on as the bikers settled, and Orville took a slow sip of his warm tea. A quiet sense of justice filled the room. Maverick didn't brag, didn't boast. He simply sat beside Orville, asking if he was okay. Orville nodded. "I'm fine, son. You boys always seem to show up when I need you most." Maverick smiled gently. "We look out for our own." Word of the incident spread through the town within hours. People praised the bikers for standing up, for teaching a lesson without violence, for protecting a man who had already given more to life than he ever received in return. What no one expected, though, was how deeply the encounter would affect Bryson. That night he couldn't shake Orville's words, simplicity, the truth, the weight of them. His father's wealth suddenly felt hollow compared to the quiet honor Orville carried the next morning, with eyes still heavy from sleepless reflection. Bryson returned to the diner. He entered quietly, without his friends, without the bravado. Orville was already there, eating his pie. Maverick wasn't present. This time it was just the boy and the veteran. Bryson approached slowly, his heart pounding. He gently placed something on the tablia. "Polished new pair of boots for you." Bryson said, I wanted to do something right, and to say sorry properly." Orville smiled warmly. "These are nice, son, but I don't need them. What I needed was exactly what you just gave me, which is Bryson asked a young man willing to become better. Bryson's throat tightened. He nodded. May I sit with you? Orville gestured to the seat. Of course, the two sat together for an hour talking about life struggle, mistakes, and second chances, and for the first time Bryson understood something far greater than wealth, the power of humility. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your engagement helps Light of Kindness spread more stories that remind us what compassion and courage look like in everyday life before we end. Tell me in the comments, what would you have done if you witnessed this moment? And with that, the sun continued shining through the diner's windows, warm, bright, and full of hope, reminding everyone inside that kindness always leaves a mark deeper than cruelty ever could.